Ever since Tyler introduced us to thermal, I feel kind of naked on a stand without it.
You know, we were talking about using the thermal and the light together. Another advantage that I can see is when you're hunting these big open areas like this is just when you can find them so much further out there with the thermal is being prepared to shoot.
Just being able to get the light on them quicker, I think it makes them a whole lot more comfortable and keeps them coming instead of hitting them when they're 50 yards from the truck going full tilt, you know? That is awesome.
Man, if I ever stand and go like that, I don't know if it'd be boring or exciting.
I would take my chances with the exciting.
This week we'll learn why Wicked Lights and Ultimate Night Vision Thermal are the backbone of what we do, and why having both working together side by side is not only the key to our success, but where the real horsepower lies at the end of the day. And why night hunters who hunt from a rack like us can benefit exponentially from combining the two. If I had $1 for every time I heard someone say, my coyotes, or coyotes from my state, won't come into a big bright white light like your Texas coyotes do, I would be a rich man. It cracks me up every time I hear that because it implies all coyotes living outside the Texas state line somehow automatically become smarter to a light. I usually just roll my eyes and ponder to myself, exactly how is it possible for a coyote to even know what state he lives in? Just think about that for a minute. The answer is he simply can't. But it's not uncommon when guys from other parts of the country see what we do with lights from a truck to automatically assume his or her coyotes from his or her state won't do the same thing using the same process. Well, I'm going to respectfully have to disagree. No matter where you live, a coyote's a coyote. The only thing that changes from one place or state to another is the level of conditioning or pressure from lights certain coyotes in certain areas will experience in their lifetime. Some states, like Texas, are more likely to put more light pressure on coyotes simply due to being a more popular night hunting state, compared to other states that may not even allow night hunting with lights at all. In other words, if you're a coyote living anywhere in Texas, the likelihood of you seeing a light from a hunter in your lifetime is more likely than most of the other states across the country. And that's a fact, because Texas is a huge night hunting state. And a major byproduct of that fact is more hunters out there at night shining coyotes increases the number of coyotes that are likely to be wise to the game because they've seen it before. So this notion that all Texas coyotes are just somehow not as smart as everywhere else to a light pretty much becomes invalid. Hey! Because the reality is, Texas coyotes are actually more likely to be smarter on average to a light than anywhere else in the entire country, simply from the sheer amount of night hunters who hunt with lights here in Texas compared to all the other states. And that's not a theory, that's a fact.
Good shooting, sir.
Thank you. Not too bad for 30 yards.
No, not a bit.
I like them close. There's no doubt about that. That's a good coyote.
Yeah. Good and dead.
Yeah, he is. All right.
I'm going to tell you what, man. I don't care how many times you do that. It never gets old.
That does it, man. Love when they come in close like that and just pose for you.
I love getting them up there close enough to where you have to start yelling at them to stop them like that. That's so much fun.
It is. Yeah, it never ceases to amaze me when they, hey, they're still coming.
Yeah, what's he thinking whenever you're doing that? You know what? These lights will still catch eyes when a thermal won't.
Yeah?
You know what?
No doubt.
That's why I love having both of them going at the same time, because Ronnie caught those first ones.
Uh-huh.
I saw the second one with thermal, but you picked him up with the light before we could get the big lights on him.
Yeah, it's a great combination, because sometimes you're not going to see them with that thermal. I mean, it's rare, but you You're not gonna miss those eyes shining.
I just stuck my finger in a turd. Come here, Matt. That turd laid a turd, and I stuck my finger in it.
What are you reaching for? What are you reaching for?
I was reaching for his legs, and I stuck it right in that turd.
That's awesome.
That is a turd, ain't it?
Oh yeah, it's a turd. Nice soft one.
See my finger?
You know, I can't say anything, but that's karma right there for the little fox joker.
Why am I picking him up anyway? You shot his ass. Get him and let's go.
That's right. Little karma. Little karma there, Mag Rob. All right, this guy is so little bitty, man. You look good when I was walking up. Not so much.
Man, good shot.
Thanks, buddy. Jerk. All right. Good stuff.
Oh, I freaking stuck my finger right down in that shit.
It's all under your fingernail. Oh, that's awesome.
A few years back, when we first jumped into thermal, it didn't take us long to figure out what kind of advantage we had been missing out on.
Ever since Tyler introduced us to thermal, I feel kind of naked on a stand without it. We were probably the biggest advocates for using just a light. But if a guy can ever figure out that having a light and thermal on a stand is the strongest approach to being able to kill stuff, especially once you actually get them coming to the call, to keep them coming and blind them with that light and get them close, it's hard to beat. And if you get one to hang up and it gets in the brush on you, they can't hide from this, but they can hide from a light. As long as they've got a heat signature that's hitting the lens of this thing, it's gonna see them.
This cat is the perfect example of how effective thermal can be for tracking an animal in the brush. We didn't realize it at the time, but this cat was actually on a major game trail that ran right behind a patch of small trees. And for comfort's sake, he decided to stay on it until he completely disappears behind it. The trees were only about 30 to 40 yards tops from the truck, but once he went behind it, he disappears like a ghost, and we lose sight of him completely. This just goes to show it doesn't matter how much light you can put out there. They can still hide from it when they want to. That's where thermal plays such a key role, because no matter where that cat's at, that thermal will pick him up, even with only a tiny piece of him exposed to the unit. We couldn't see this cat at all, even with the big lights, but that thermal saw him plain as day sitting at 30 yards behind a tree.
He's just right there behind that little tree.
You know, it's crazy to think, even with all that light, we still couldn't find this cat just sitting there, but it actually happened. And from that moment on, we haven't made a stand without both thermal and wicked lights running side by side. This big Tom simply refused to leave the game trail he was on and had begun to leave, so we decided it was time to close the deal. Well, that didn't work. But that did. That was a bad mistake.
Get him right there.
Man, I thought he was leaving for sure. He came back to those lip squeaks. I expect him to come up and just come straight to the truck, but he got behind that little bush, and I guess he thought he was hiding. Actually, I couldn't see him there for a minute, and I got that thermal, and he was 25, 30 yards. He started to leave, and that little lip squeak changed his mind. So that was pretty neat.
That's a bigger cat than I thought, Ronnie.
Yeah, he is. Sure looks smaller than that whenever he was coming in.
That's a good cat.
Yeah, it is. Sucker we ride on this cattle trail.
I'd be willing to bet that's probably one of the reasons why he didn't deviate off of it. I guarantee you that cat probably runs up this trail about 10 times a day.
Probably so.
I was wondering if we was going to get him once he got down in this little bottom right here, this little low spot. He was on his way out.
Yeah, he was definitely leaving. I think it wouldn't be for this trail, he would have come right on up to the truck. This trail leads right up to them bushes he was hiding behind.
It's funny, whenever you said, down the road, you're like, it's a cow. It's a cow. I looked in that thermal and I was like, no, dude, I'm almost positive it's a cat. Just by the, you could tell by the way he was moving and stuff.
I thought for sure that was a cow because it looks like it's wide open over there. I don't know what's over there, but
you know, it's funny too with the thermal. That's another advantage is you can actually see the body movement more than just the eyes.
That thermal's a game changer.
I'll say let's get him in the truck. He's been resting here long enough.
Yeah, give him a ride.
Yeah.
This is without question one situation where both thermal and lights played key roles to the outcome of a stand. It doesn't always go down that way, but the one time it does will make you thankful to have the right equipment to get the job done.
Hey. Hey.
We ain't getting that one. Well, maybe you are. This coyote is the perfect reason why we prefer getting the light on them much further out. When you hit them running full speed for the first time at 50 yards, it tends to make them react a whole lot different to the light than picking them up way out there. It just keeps them much more comfortable when the initial hit with your light is not so abrupt. This coyote was spotted much further out on the same stand only 2 minutes later, and notice how much more calm he is to the light. Both this one and the last one are full-grown mature coyotes that reacted completely different to the light. The only difference was how close they were when we first hit them with it. And only a few minutes later, this next one was out there even further. It's like the lights are not even there.
That's what you call taking care of business, son.
Yes, sir. 3 good-sized coyotes.
Yeah. Yeah, all 3 of them are big old fired up, pretty North Texas coyotes. That is awesome.
Yes, sir. Man, if I ever stand and go like that, I don't know if it'd be boring or exciting. I'll take the excitement for a while.
I would take my chances with the exciting. That, my friend, is what night hunting is all about.
Yes, sir. That's why we go out and do what we do.
You can't tell me that anybody that's ever gone hunting, period, I don't care if they're not a predator hunter, hog hunter, deer hunter, whatever type of hunter they are, if you don't enjoy what we just did, something's wrong with you.
Heck yeah, it is.
The funniest part was, after we got done talking, we started looking at footage and this and that, and we did it twice.
Yeah.
we started reviewing the footage on the first one. Hey, here's another one.
That's why you always take another look.
Yeah, stay on the hook. That's what nice part about that thermal too, is like you can just, you don't even have to pick your light up. You just pick the thermal up and look around and see if there's anybody else looking at you. Speaking of which, you got it. We might want to look around because as many of them are coming in.
3 up and 3 down. Those are the kind of numbers I can live with. And the best part is, we were on a whopping 35 acres. It just goes to show you never want to overlook the small stuff.
We got to keep moving, man. Stuff is on the go.
Got any more of these honey hoes?
Wow, this is actually my gar hole, man.
Is it? Let's go hit that honey hole.
I forgot to tell you that part. Tripled it up on a Tuesday night on 35 acres.
Hey man, that's how we roll.
That is what it's all about. We're very fortunate and blessed to have great sponsors with great products that allow us to be the best we can be at what we do. Everything you see us use on Night Crew in the field is something you would genuinely see us use with or without a show. And to date, we've only accepted partners of Night Crew TV based on their fit of what we would actually use them for in our process and not just for an extra buck. In other words, if you see it on the show, it's because we actually use it day in and day out. I care too much about what we do to sell out to products we simply don't believe in. That's just the way we are and have been from day one.
Oh, right there, Ronnie. There's 2 right there. A little more to your left. Right there. Yeah. Got 'em?
Yeah, I got him.
They're coming. Go ahead and kill him. Oh. Shoot, yeah, man. That's the perfect example.
Sucker probably run through 1,000 yards of mud.
Having both is absolutely, hands down, more effective than just having one.
I mean, we're here on a bright moonlit night in the back of a truck. So you use the thermal to find them, the lights to blind them, then kill them.
This coyote had bit hook, line, and sinker and literally crossed a swamp to get there, only to realize she had been fooled. We found her with thermal, blinded her with lights, and the rest is history.
Ain't no wonder that sucker had mud all over his feet. Man, he's real dark. I don't think it's just because he's wet. I just think he's just real dark.
They furred up good.
Yeah, I know. That's surprising. It's only mid-October and they're already getting a good coat on. I mean, for Texas. Not a super old one, but it ain't a pup, that's for sure. They always say the old female's the hardest one to call up and kill, but
We called that one across the swamp.
Sure did. It's a swampy sucker out here.
Yeah, fun stuff. I'm glad I brought my rubber boots today.
Yeah, I didn't.
Feet soaking wet.
A little bit. It's worth it though.
If there's one single advantage that makes it worth running lights and thermal together, it's no doubt expanding your detection zone well beyond what's possible with the light.
You know, we were talking about using the thermal and the light together. Another advantage that I can see is when you're hunting these big open areas like this is just when you can find them so much further out there with the thermal is being prepared, you know, to shoot or anything, just being prepared quicker.
Just being able to get the light on them quicker. I think the further they are out there, being able to get on them quicker with the light, I think it makes them a whole lot more comfortable and keeps them coming instead of hitting them when they're 50 yards in the truck going full tilt, you know?
I just think if you're hunting a tournament or whatever, that advantage of getting on the animal quicker is going to up your odds by, I don't know.
Oh yeah, tremendously.
A lot.
For sure. Well, we can sit here and talk about it all night. Well, let's go do it.
Heck yeah.
Hunting predators at night from a truck isn't for everyone. But if you're a Texas boy like me with a high rack in your rearview mirror, you've got to try this process at least once. Once you've had the best of both worlds on a stand, you'll never look back.